All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever looked at a market chart and just felt lost? Like you're staring at this wild, unpredictable river with no idea which way it's going to turn. It can be, a little overwhelming. But what if I told you there's a tool that can help you chart that river, to actually read its currents and navigate it with a heck of a lot more confidence? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. I mean, just look at this thing. The price zigs, it zags, it shoots up, it drops down. If you're new to this, it honestly just looks like chaos. It's like you've been dropped into some crazy rapids without a map and you have no clue if you're headed for calm water or a waterfall. You're just reacting, right? And that is a really tough way to navigate.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you go from being tossed around by the market's every whim to actually understanding what it's doing? How do you start to see the patterns hiding inside all that chaos? Well, it turns out you need the right tool for the job.
And that is where Bollinger Bands come in. Now, don't let the technical-sounding name throw you off. Just think of this tool as a brilliant map maker for our price river. It literally draws the riverbanks right there on your chart, turning that confusing mess into a clear, navigable waterway.
And this river is actually pretty simple. It's made of just 3 parts. You've got the upper bank, which shows you the high water mark, basically. Then there's the lower bank, which shows you the low point. And smack dab in the middle, that's the current, the average path the price is taking. That's it. That's your map.
Okay, so we've got this map. What now? Well, this is where it gets cool. The actual shape of the riverbanks tells a story. It can reveal the river's mood, and if you're going to be a navigator, understanding that mood is absolutely crucial.
Turns out, our river really only has 2 main moods. When the banks get really close together, the river is calm. That's a time of low volatility, and traders have a great name for it, the squeeze. But when the banks are super far apart, well, the river is raging. It's wild. That tells you the market is in a period of really high volatility. So when you see those bands getting tighter and tighter, almost like a narrow canyon, it means the market's just taking a breath. Prices aren't really going anywhere. It's quiet, maybe a little too quiet. Because this calm is very often the calm before the storm. Exactly. See, this isn't just some boring, quiet period. It's a sign that energy is building up. The best way to think about it is like a coiled spring. The market is getting wound tighter and tighter, just getting ready for its next big move.
So a squeeze is basically a heads up. It's the Bollinger Bands tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, pay attention, something big is probably about to happen. Now, it doesn't tell you which way the river's going to break, but it sure does tell you that a powerful current is likely on its way.
And on the flip side, when those bands are really wide apart, that's our raging river. This shows the market is fired up, full of energy, with big price swings happening. The trend is in full motion, and that river is flooding.
Okay, great. So we can read the river's mood. Now, how do we actually use that to navigate? Well, there are 2 really simple rules of thumb that are just incredibly useful when you're starting out.
First up, we have what's called the bounce. This is when the price goes and touches one of the riverbanks and, like a rubber ball, just kind of bounces back toward the middle. Then you have the breakout. This is a much more powerful, dramatic move where the price actually smashes right through a bank and keeps on going.
Let's look a little closer at the bounce. You can think of the bands as these soft, natural boundaries. So when the price goes up and hits that upper bank, it's considered relatively high, and it usually gets pulled back toward the middle current. Same thing on the downside. If it hits the lower bank, it's seen as pretty low and tends to drift back up. Most of the time, the river wants to stay inside its banks. But sometimes, that current is just too strong, and it floods right over the banks. That is a breakout. When you see the price push outside one of the bands and stay there, that's a huge signal that a powerful new trend might just be getting started. The river is literally carving a new path for itself. All right, now this next part. This is probably the single most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. You've got your map, you know how to read the river, but you should never, ever try to navigate these waters alone. You need a first mate. I really want you to let this one sink in. The experts are crystal clear about this. Trying to trade using only Bollinger Bands is, frankly, a recipe for disaster. It's a fantastic tool for getting context, but it can and will give you false signals. On its own, it's just not enough.
So the huge takeaway here is to always confirm what the Bollinger Bands might be telling you. Think of the bands as your main map of the river, but you still need other instruments, other tools, to double-check your position and see what the conditions around you are really like.
So what kind of first mates are we talking about here? Well, you could use another indicator like the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, to check if the current is actually as strong as it looks. You could look at trading volume to see how much water is actually flowing in the river. Or you could just draw simple trend lines on your chart to spot other landmarks. When you combine these tools, your navigation gets a whole lot safer.
And that really brings us to the final and most essential point. Bollinger Bands are not a crystal ball, okay? They cannot tell you with certainty what's going to happen next. What they are is a compass. They are brilliant at telling you about the market conditions right now, how wild or calm the river is, and whether the price is relatively high or low at this very moment.
And that's really the heart of it. They're your compass. They give you this amazing dynamic map of the market's volatility. They help you turn a chart that looks like total chaos into a river that you can actually read, a river with calm spots, with rapids, and a general direction of its current.
So, you've just been handed a new map and a compass. You now have a framework for reading the river's mood and for spotting its potential paths. The question is no longer, how do I survive this crazy thing? Instead, it becomes, where do I want to go? The river is out there, and now it's yours to explore.